Presidency states its position on the views expressed by Malam Mamandara on the Hausa service of the BBC, which elicited reactions. 390 Nigerians returned from the United States described federal government's measures on containment of COVID-19 as world-class. These and more on Panorama, reaching live from Abuja. I'm Elizabeth Omori. We'll be right back. The presidency has formally stated its position on the views expressed by Malam Mamandara, President Buhari's nephew, on the Hausa service of the BBC, which elicited reactions from a cross-section of Nigerians. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, explains that, as mentioned by the interviewee, the views were personal to him and did not in any way reflect that of either the President or his administration. The statement says, at the age of 80 and having served as managing director of one of Nigeria's most influential newspapers, the New Nigerian, Malam Maman certainly qualifies as an elder statesman with a national duty to hold perspectives and disseminate them as guaranteed under the nation's constitution. The presidency believes that Malam Mamandara does not need the permission or clearance of anyone to exercise such rights. The issues discussed during the interview, the statement further explains, centered around themes on how the country could birth an appropriate process of political ideology, leading to an evaluation of a democratic outcome that could serve the best interest of the average Nigerian, irrespective of where they come from. These issues, Garba Shehu maintains, remain at the heart of Nigeria's evolving and young democracy, and as a veteran journalist, scholar and statesman, Malam Mamandara has seen enough to add his voice to those of many other participants. To other matters now, the stringent measures activated by the federal government at the nation's airports to contain the spread of coronavirus pandemic have been described as world-class. Some Nigerians who arrived from the United States of America made the observation at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. Michael Olale reports that the 390 Nigerians returned via Ethiopian airline.
Among the U.S. returnees is a businessman, Nduka Ode, whose short trip to the United States for a business transaction turned out to be an endless journey due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Well, it's not good, you know, business is affected, you can't see family and friends, but I think the greatest thing is the effect on business.
Like other returnees who came back through the special evacuation service, Ujusi Okwama shared his experience this way.
I wouldn't have been here unless I had a private jet. So this evacuation flight is a very, very commendable development. I applaud the government for that.
The returnees were properly screened by the officials of the airport authority in accordance with the COVID-19 preventive measures. This is the fifth evacuation flight from the United States to Nigeria, while the necessary approvals have been given for the sixth and seventh evacuation flights later this month. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NTA News.
Now, to COVID-19 update, the latest figures from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control indicate that 462 new cases of the virus have been confirmed in the country. The figures released at about midnight of July 31st show that the FCT has the highest number of cases on the daily chart with 93 cases, followed by Lagos with 78, Plateau 64, Kaduna 54, Oyo 47 and Ondo 32. Other states on the daily COVID-19 chart are Adamawa with 23 cases, Bauchi 19, Rivers, Ogun Delta have 9 each, Edo 7, Kano and Enugu have 6 each, Nasarawa 5, while Osun has a case of the virus. So far, 43,151 cases of the virus have been confirmed in Nigeria, with 19,565 discharged and 879 deaths recorded. World Breastfeeding Week is celebrated every year from 1st to 7th of August to encourage breastfeeding and improve the health of babies around the world. Basi Itaikma reports that this year, WHO is working with UNICEF and partners to promote the importance of family-friendly policies to enable breastfeeding and help parents nurture and bond with their children in early life when it matters most.
Breast milk, especially that yellowish substance that comes out immediately after childbirth, professionals say is the only source of water and nutrients an infant needs within the first 6 months of life. A breakdown shows breast milk contains some valuable nutrients that can decrease respiratory infection, diarrhea, and other communicable diseases. Breastfeeding also contributes to child spacing, as well as decrease ovarian and breast cancer. Despite these gains, record shows that only 27% of lactating mothers give their babies only breast milk in the first 6 months of life, which is below 50% target. These and more inform the 7-day advocacy aimed at creating awareness on exclusive breastfeeding by WHO, UNICEF, and some partners.
So for this year, what we are looking at is ensure that there is a skill counseling services that ensure that mothers and family receive support for counseling and being able to breastfeed. And this counseling is key to ensure that this woman is able to really breastfeed her child very well.
This year's theme, Support Breastfeeding for a Healthier Planet, experts say is apt. The week-long advocacy was also aimed at bringing to an end infant mortality from malnutrition and educate mothers on the need to adhere to exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months, as well as continue complementary breastfeeding for 2 years of the child's life. Basi Taipang, NTA News.
You're still watching Panorama, reaching you live from Abuja. Let's take a break now. More to come.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
Thanks for staying with us. To security now, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, said with the procurement of unmanned aerial vehicles and construction of aircraft hangars in Katsina, security challenges facing the northwest will soon be history in the zone. The Chief of the Air Staff was speaking at Salah Party organized for troops of Air Component Adarindaji 213 Forward Operation based in Katsina. Awal Halir reports.
Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, said the construction will commence in 2 weeks' time and will be based in Katsina to boost security operations.
I believe by the time it is fully erected, it will add a lot of value to our maintenance Our technicians will not have to maintain aircraft in the open, in the sun, under very harsh temperatures.
He appreciated the frontline troops for their courage, resilience, and dedication, and urged the frontline officers and airmen to remain focused.
We will continue to provide necessary tools to enhance your precise and effective prosecution of all operations, such as infrastructure, modern equipment, and so on.
Governor Aminu Bello Masari explained that the communities and local people have to be involved to succeed in the fight against banditry.
We as a government are looking at ways and means of assisting communities to sustain peace. This is in addition to community policing.
Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar had a lunch with the frontline officers, airmen and airwomen to mark the 2020 Eid al-Kabir celebration. Awal Haliru, NTA News.
Meanwhile, troops of Exercise Sahel Sanity have rescued 17 kidnapped victims and eliminated 80 bandits between 6th and 31st of July 2020 in operations that span through Katsina, Zamfara and Sokoto states. In a statement by the Acting Director Defense Media Operations, Brigadier General Bernard Onyeko indicates that 33 suspected bandits and 14 bandits informants were arrested, while several bandits' camps, including the notorious Dangate Triangle, were destroyed. Several arms and rustled animals were also recovered in the ongoing operations in the zone. To school resumption now under strict COVID-19 protocols, schools in the FCT are concluding arrangements for their senior certificate classes to resume and sit for the 2020 WAEC examinations following the announcement by the federal government. Hadiza Godwin Ebune visited some schools in the FCT to ascertain the level of preparations for the examinations.
That will be reopening are schools that are centers for these exams, and only in respect of the exiting classes. Primary schools and all other classes are excluded from this decision-making process.
Finally, it is examination season for schools in Nigeria. The finishing touches for this examination period, though, has taken some unusual dimension. Soap, running water and other COVID-19 safety facilities have taken precedence over the usual preparation. The requirement is the same thing for both public and private schools. Meanwhile, the Federal Capital Territory Education Secretariat, Secondary Education Board and Universal Basic Education Board all declined to speak on camera, but say they are going by the federal government directives. A director of a private school says they are not certain of resumption of JSS 3 classes. Nevertheless, they are not leaving any stone unturned.
No specific date that was given, just like you heard 4th of August, that's how we have heard for the 4th of August. But we are remaining ready.
The pace of work at the schools have not been the same. Here at Government Secondary School Kubwa, the reality cannot be more stark. JSS Garki has started putting things in place by clearing grasses in the environment, while Government Secondary School Tudunwada is yet to start work to meet the set guidelines. Hadiza Godwin Ebuni, NTA News.
And in Enugu, some residents have commended the federal government for the development and appealed that government should use the return of exiting students as a testing ground for the reopening of all schools at a later date. Chidi Okarafo reports.
After a series of meetings with key players in education sector, the federal government, through the Federal Minister of Education, last Monday announced the reopening of schools for students in exit classes to enable them prepare for their WAEC examinations scheduled to start on August 17, 2020. Some parents, teachers, and students have expressed their feelings about the development.
Yeah, I feel so happy that government have come to our rescue.
I feel so excited. I'm going back to school.
How is these children going to cope? Like kind of all this while they haven't been studying. So how will they be able to write the exam? That is the main problem here.
My opinion is that not just exam classes will be opening, but every class should be open, including university students.
It was, however, the views of most respondents that inasmuch as writing the examinations is important to ensure that Nigerian students do not lose an academic year, the safety of those who will write the exam as well as those who will conduct it, should not be compromised. The reason they said the Minister of Education at the federal and state level should ensure strict enforcement of safety guidelines and health protocols in schools.
That's why we are putting these protocols in place, so that when they come, after passing through the protocol, they will help us to, take care of the situation.
In Enugu, Chidi Okrafo, NTA News.
In view of the federal government's formal pronouncement for school resumption for exiting classes, educationists in Akwa Ibom State say they put recommended COVID-19 safety protocols in the interest of the schools to check for the spread of coronavirus. Udwak Etim completes the story.
Although schools are being frustrated because of the prolonged closure and inability to write internal and external examinations, including WAEC and others, in order to take off academic activities in Nigeria, the federal government has recently announced August 4 as a new date for school resumption for exit classes after its virtual consultative meeting between education stakeholders. How prepared are the stakeholders in Akwa Ibom State in the face of COVID-19?
We are well prepared to receive the students back. We have all our materials in place. Going by the COVID-19 guidelines by the NCDC and the federal government, we have already sent messages to parents out there to get their wards face masks. We have hand sanitizers, the automated dispensing machines.
The school have consulted someone that did that is in charge of the face masks, the sanitizer. Everything is being put in place. Our standard here is 15 per class. So the standard already was there.
For the Akwa Ibom State government, plans are underway to meet up with the federal government COVID-19 protocols to safeguard the health of the students, teachers, and even the examiners. The protocols expected by the federal government and health authority is for successful management of the pandemic and to curb further spread of the virus. In Uyo, Udwak Etam, NTA News.
In the same vein, a cross-section of Port Harcourt residents want the relevant authorities in the education sector to look beyond the new resumption date for exiting classes to sit for their terminal examination and plan ahead in the best interest of the industry. This comes as some stakeholders believe that COVID-19 physical distancing would help to check examination malpractices. Kingsley Amajiri reports.
Steps by the State Ministry of Education is in furtherance of the reopening of schools in the state to enable those in their exit classes to sit for the final examination. The emergency engagement with haste of the 257 WAEC centers where the examination is expected to take place is to prepare them on what is required towards ensuring a safe environment for the students.
Part of the argument people like me in particular have been deploying in the forum of commissioners is this. If you say why could not be written, you are compromising the educational future of the children.
To some parents, this was long anticipated. This is just as some were concerned that the long period students were out of school might impact negatively on their performance.
So many things have not been put in place to curtail this issue of coronavirus. So it's putting their life at risk.
I think government is right, but they should look for another alternative for the students to write. If it being that they will all be tested, you understand, before they will go into their classes and partake of the exam.
Are the school authorities ready? How prepared also are the students, especially with regards to covering the school curriculum?
The pandemic came a week to the closing of the school, and so a lot has been done. All we need to do now with this reopening is to talk about revision.
Okay, this is the best time for them to write the examination because in a class, in a hall where you have 50 students, less than that, they have other classes empty. So even if it's one student per seat.
Beyond the upcoming examinations, keen observers want the government to re-strategize and come up with policy framework to drive the education sector in line with the COVID-19 reality. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
Away from education now to electoral matters, the People's Democratic Party Imo State Congress has ended with Charles Ogu emerging the state chairman. He was announced winner by the Chairman Congress Panel Committee Abuja after the counting of votes at the Kano Nwankwo Stadium, Owerri. All contestants also emerged victorious as the party harmonized all positions contested for. In our two felicitations, President Muhammadu Buhari has sent warm felicitations to Olumide Akpata on his election as the president of Nigerian Bar Association, wishing him every success in charting a path of professional development and fulfillment for lawyers in the country. The president trusts that Mr. Akpata's vast knowledge and experience in litigation, corporate world, and engaging with government at different levels will greatly benefit the bar and indeed all Nigerians in the modern democracy. He assures the new leadership of the NBA of the continued cooperation of his administration in addressing the broad range of challenges and opportunities facing the legal profession and the country. Also, President Muhammadu Buhari congratulates former Minister of Health, Prince Julius Adeluyi, on his 80th birthday. In a personally signed letter, the President describes Adeluyi as an accomplished pharmacist, lawyer, and boardroom player whose life is one signposted by many achievements that inspired the younger generation to noble ideas. President Buhari wishes the octogenarian longer life. And next is sports updates.
Arsenal came from behind to beat 10-man Chelsea at the Wembley Stadium on Saturday in a repeat of 2017 final to lift the English FA Cup for the 14th time, with 2 goals from Gabonese striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. With the result, Arsenal has now qualified for next season's Europa League. Reactions have continued to trail the transfer of Super Eagles striker Victor Osimhen from Lille to Serie A side Napoli. The player, who was named Best African Player in League One after scoring 18 goals in 38 matches in the 2019-2020 season, was signed for 5 years in a deal worth £50 million, making him the most expensive African player in history.
Playing in the Italian Serie A will actually give him the opportunity to test himself against the best defenders in the world.
In another development, Nigeria School Sports Federation had teamed up with the Nigerian Taekwondo Federation and State Sports Council to ensure Nigeria beats the registration deadline, which ended on 30th July 2020. The President, School Sports Federation, Olabisi Joseph, says the partnership will go a long way to discover budding talents from the grassroots.
This gives our students the opportunity of interacting and competing with their counterparts across the world.
We feel that going forward, we should do more events like this to engage our youth.
In volleyball, the president of the Federation of International Volleyball, Ari Grassa, on Friday announced the launch of the FIVB development project aimed at advancing the level of the national teams, which is a clear demonstration of the Federation's commitment to the development of the game in challenging times. With the project, all 222 national federations have the opportunity to request for funds designed to improve the level of their national teams through the supply of coaches and volleyball equipment.
To help you both financially and with the knowledge and expertise of our professional team.
The applications from the federations commenced from August 1st, 2020. With Sports Update, Gift George, NTA News.
Now let's take a look at the weather picture for tomorrow, Monday. And here is a public service announcement for you from the NTA. And that's Panorama today. Thank you so much for watching. Good afternoon.